Greetings of the day. Today's subject seminar topic is diabetes care in elderly. Presenter myself Dr. Seetala and moderator is Dr. Altaf. Introduction. Diabetes is an important health condition for the aging population. Approximately one quarter of the people over the age of 65 years are diabetics, and this population is expected to increase rapidly in the coming decades. Older adults with diabetes have higher rates of functional disability, premature death, accelerated muscle loss, and coexisting illnesses like hypertension, stroke, and coronary heart disease. Older adults with diabetics are at greater risk of common geriatric syndromes such as polypharmacy, cognitive impairment, depression, urinary incontinence, injurious falls, and persistent pain. These conditions may impact older adults' diabetes self-management abilities and quality of life if they are left unaddressed. Management of diabetes in elderly, thus it should take into consideration the following aspects: neurocognitive function, hypoglycemia, treatment goals, lifestyle management, pharmacological therapy, end of life care. Neurocognitive function. Elderly diabetics are at higher risk of cognitive decline. This cognitive dysfunction can range from subtle executive dysfunction to memory loss and dementia. Poor glycemic control is associated with a decline in cognitive function. Thus, it is challenging for clinicians to achieve individualized glycemic targets in these elderly patients. It is difficult for patients to perform self-care tasks like monitoring glucose, adjusting insulin doses, maintaining the timing of meal and its content, and carbohydrate counting. Therefore, it is critical to simplify the drug regimens and to facilitate and engage the appropriate support structure. Older adults with diabetes should be carefully screened and monitored for cognitive impairment. Annual screening recommended for 65 years of age or older elderly for early detection of mild cognitive impairment or dementia. And screening should be done especially when a patient presents with significant decline in clinical status due to increased problems with self-care activities. Hypoglycemia. The risk of hypoglycemia is very high in elderly diabetics. Patients should be monitored frequently and carefully. Glycemic targets and pharmacological regimens should be adjusted to minimize the occurrence of hypoglycemic events. Intensive glucose control was not found to benefit brain structure or cognitive function in these elderly diabetics. Treatment goals. This is a table showing the treatment goals for glycemia, blood pressure, and dyslipidemia in older adults with diabetes. Patients have been classified into three categories based on their health status. First category, healthy. These people have few coexisting chronic illnesses, intact cognitive and functional status. The reasonable glycated HB goal for them should be less than 7.5% and the fasting blood sugars targeted at 90 to 130 mg per dl. The blood pressure target should be kept less than 140 by 90 and statins are recommended unless they are contraindicated or not tolerated by the patient. The second category includes complex or intermediate group of patients. These are the patients with multiple coexisting chronic illnesses. These are the conditions which are serious enough to require medications or lifestyle managements such as arthritis, cancer, congestive heart failure, depression, emphysema, falls, hypertension, incontinence, stage 3 or worse chronic kidney disease, MI, and stroke. And these patients also have two or more instrumental activities of daily living impaired or mild to moderate cognitive impairment. The reasonable glycated hemoglobin target is less than 8 and their fasting sugars are targeted at 90 to 150, blood pressure targeted at less than 140 by 90. And here also patients may be given statins unless contraindicated or not tolerated. The third category includes patients with poor health, are classified as very complex. Patients who are requiring long-term care or end-stage chronic illnesses or moderate to severe cognitive impairment. or more than two activities of daily living dependencies. End stage chronic illnesses uh, examples include stage 3, stage 4 congestive heart failure or oxygen dependent lung disease, chronic kidney disease requiring hemodialysis, or uncontrolled metastatic cancer. The glycated HB goal for these patients should be less than 8.5. The fasting sugars are targeted at 100 to 180, and the blood pressure should be kept less than 150 bar 90. And statins should be given only if the benefit is considered. Next is lifestyle management. Diabetes in the aging population, they have reduced muscle strength, poor muscle quality, and accelerated loss of muscle mass, resulting in sarcopenia. Diabetes in elderly is an independent risk factor for frailty. Inadequate nutritional intake increases the risk for sarcopenia or frailty. Management of frailty in diabetes options include optimal nutrition, adequate protein intake, and exercise. Physical activity can be recommended as allowed by their functional status. The benefits of physical activity include to maintain physical function, reduce the cardiac risk, improves insulin sensitivity, and especially in elderly, the body composition and the arthritic pain improves, the risk of falls and depression is reduced, and strength and balance are increased. Pharmacological therapy. It is important to establish individualized glycemic goals and also important to periodically adjust depending on chronic coexisting illnesses, depending on the cognitive function and functional status of the patient. Simplification of the insulin regimen to match an individual's self-management abilities and their available social and medical support is also important. Oral hypoglycemic agents. Metformin is usually the first line agent recommended. The contraindications include advanced renal failure, impaired hepatic function, congestive cardiac failure. Adverse effects include gastrointestinal side effects like nausea, vomiting. Any older patient treated with metformin should be cautioned to stop taking the drug immediately if they become ill for any reason or if they are to undergo a procedure requiring the use of iodinated contrast material. Also, kidney functions have to be monitored every 3 to 6 months. Insulin secretogogues like sulfonylureas, they have a high risk of hypoglycemia. Therefore, glipizide or glimepiride are preferred because of their shorter duration of action. Thiazolidinediones like pioglitazone and rosiglitazone, these group of drugs are usually not used, and if they are used, they should be used cautiously in congestive heart failure, osteoporosis, falls or fractures, and or macular edema. Incretin-based therapies like DPP4 inhibitors. These are once-a-day oral agents with no risk of hypoglycemia and are weight neutral when used as monotherapy. Thus, they may be a good choice to be used in older adults. In frail older adult patients with late onset diabetes, particularly in patients with high risk of hypoglycemia and hypoglycemic unawareness, these drugs can be useful agents to lower glycemia to the individualized target. Only disadvantage is these drugs can be costly. Glucagon-like peptide receptor agonists, these are injectable agents and they have significant gastrointestinal side effects. Since these are injectable agents, the patient should have proper cognitive skills for appropriate administration. Sodium glucose transporter 2 inhibitors, these are beneficial for patients with heart failure and have been shown to slow the progression of CKD. Insulin therapy. Patients who are on insulin therapy, they should have good visual and motor skills and cognitive ability to self-administer the dose of insulin and calculate the dose of insulin. Doses should be titrated to meet individualized glycemic targets and to avoid hypoglycemia. Once daily basal insulin has been shown to have minimal side effects and are a reasonable option in elderly patients with diabetes. Other factors should be taken into consideration. Each patient should have a tailored care plan. their living situation, social and instrumental support network should be considered. Also, elderly have a fixed income and thus the cost of treatment should be kept in mind, or else they might become uncompliant with medications. Palliative care. The essence of palliative care is to emphasize comfort and symptom management while de-emphasizing strict metabolic and blood pressure control. Older adults with type 1 diabetes, the goal is to avoid diabetic ketoacidosis, and these patients may need some form of basal insulin. This is a slide showing simplification of complex insulin therapy. Patients on basal insulin, the timing of insulin administration should be changed from bedtime to morning. Titrate the dose of basal insulin based on the fasting blood glucose levels over a week, the fasting goal being 90 to 150. However, this goal may be changed depending on each and every patient. If 50% of these fasting values are above the goal, increase the dose of insulin by 2 units. And if more than 2 fasting values are less than 80, then decrease the dose by 2 units. If the patient is on mealtime insulin, and if the mealtime insulin is more than 10 units per dose, then decrease the dose by half and add non-insulin agent. To titrate mealtime insulin doses down as non-insulin agent doses are increased with aim to discontinue the mealtime insulin. And if the mealtime insulin dosage is less than 10 units per dose, discontinue the mealtime insulin and add a non-insulin agent. And while adding non-insulin agents, if the GFR is more than 45, metformin can be started at the dose of 500 milligrams daily, and every 2 weeks the dose can be adjusted. If the GFR is less than 45 and patient is already taking metformin or it isn't tolerated, then another OHA can be added. If the patient is on pre-mixed insulin, then 70% of the total dose should be used as basal only in the morning. Every 2 weeks, insulin dose should be adjusted and glucose lowering agent can be added on based on the pre-lunch and pre-dinner values. The pre-lunch and pre-dinner values goal is also between 90 to 150. The goal can be changed depending on according to the patient. If 50% of the pre-meal values over 2 weeks are above goal, then increase the dose of the non-insulin agent or add another agent. If more than 2 pre-meal finger stick values are less than 90, then decrease the dose of medication. Do not use short-acting insulin at bedtime. And while adjusting mealtime insulin, a simplified sliding scale may be used. For example, if the pre-meal glucose is more than 250, then 2 units of short or rapid-acting insulin can be given. If the pre-meal glucose is more than 350, then 4 units of short or rapid-acting insulin may be given. And sliding scale should be stopped when not needed daily. End of life care. Uh, Palliative medicine should be such that it promotes comfort, it controls the symptoms and prevents the symptoms like pain, hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, and dehydration. And it should preserve the dignity and quality of life in these patients with limited life expectancy. The treatment should be such that it should be mindful of quality of life. The glucose target should aim to prevent hypo or hyperglycemia. Pharmacological therapy, oral agents may be used as first line, followed by a simplified insulin regimen. And if needed, basal insulin can be given, accompanied by oral agents, but without rapid acting insulin to reduce the risk of hypoglycemia. Different patient categories are known. Patients have been classified in those with advanced disease into following 3 categories. One is stable patient. For these patients to continue previous regimen and the goal is to prevent hypoglycemia. Patients with organ failure, the goal is to prevent hypoglycemia and dehydration in these patients and to titrate insulin dosage. It can be titrated up or down accordingly. The third category, dying patients. These patients have type 2 diabetes, then to discontinue all medications as they are at very high risk of hypoglycemia. If the patients are type 1 diabetics, there is no such concerns, but small amounts of basal insulin can be given to prevent hyperglycemia. Thank you.